Hello everyone, welcome to the Spanish for Kiddos podcast, where you can listen to fun bilingual stories and more. My name is Barbara. I'm the owner and fan of Spanish for Kiddos and your host for this summer reading camp. I'll be sharing fun bilingual stories throughout the summer to encourage the kiddos to read whether you're at the pool, the beach, or camping. So let's have fun. So today I want to talk about a special type of instructional text or a very simple bilingual story in which you have a how-to activity, whether it be maybe making cookies, making s'mores, or even creating a bird feeder, to encourage the learners how to follow a sequence of events. And why is that so important? One of the things that we want to implement a how-to activity is not only just to follow the sequence of events, but to actually understand a step-by-step in a project. For instance, if you're going to be doing, for instance, project-based learning, and that your young learners may not know how to start, or even especially bilingual learners might not understand where to begin. So that encourages them to do that as well. It also helps them to understand that there's a sequence in stories, for instance, that there's a beginning, middle, and an end. And then in these simple projects, it just helps them to grasp what that is, a beginning of a story, that there's a middle there, and then there's a conclusion, which actually all of this helps them to later on into writing projects, for instance, when they have to write their own narratives or write their own stories, or even to understand more challenging stories where there are more characters, where the plot might be a little bit more challenging, more interesting, of course. And also it helps them to figure out what are those transition words. Is it next, then, so? What are those clues that they see in the text that help them to understand what that story is about? What is coming up next, and what is the character saying or thinking that can help them understand or develop those critical thinking skills? So not only that, but actually, furthermore, it can help them to understand even numbers in English and Spanish, since you can begin with first, there's something happening, second, and then of course next, and then lastly or last, you have something else. So if you go back to our episode of how to make s'mores a camping bilingual story, I talk about a little bit more about what that is, how to use a sequence of events in a bilingual story. And it is a friends going camping, but they don't know how to make s'mores. So how is it that they come together? How do they help each other to actually make s'mores? And then in this brief story that I have here, and then if you check out our blog post with Spanish numbers practice, it's actually a cute little brief story about a mama bear trying to teach her little bears how to go fishing for food. So in this story, it's very clear what those transition words, and I kept it very simple because I wanted to make sure that you can actually digest or this type of text, because those transition words are very clear at the very beginning. And it is a story that begins very simple with what they're doing, what they're trying to do, and then of course you figure out at the very end what is happening. So let's talk about what Mama Bear is doing. Mama Bear takes her bear cubs to the river. First, they look for fish. Next, they play in the water. After lunch, they rest on the rocks. Mamá oso lleva sus ositos al río. Primero ellos buscan peces, luego ellos juegan en el agua. Después de la comida, ellos descansan sobre las rocas. And so in that way, as you can see, they're very clear to what those transitions are. And as you notice, there's actually a first and after and next, so that you can actually clearly distinguish what those transition words mean. And then there's also different types of activities. Like I mentioned, there's Spanish numbers that you can do, but then there's also other ways that you can include this type of activity to understand what those transitions, such as primero, first, luego, next, después, after, mientras, while, entonces, then, or so. So again, all those you can actually create a short story or create a bilingual story and then understand how those all play together so that the kiddos can better understand what a story is about, follow the story, understand what the characters are, and then they can learn more about bilingual stories in English and Spanish. There's more on our blog at SpanishForKiddos.com/blog, where you can find more fun bilingual stories and other fun strategies to learn Spanish as well. And also, don't forget to check out our summer reading camp, which has fun activities, reading, and other fun online classes as well. So make sure to do that too. I include everything in our show notes that if you want to join us. Thank you so much for listening to the Spanish for Kiddos podcast, and I hope you join me next time for another fun bilingual reading. Bye-bye, everyone.